Hi everybody, this is Eleanor from The Rake and Revolution. I'm super psyched to be here at Phillips at La Réserve with Alex Ghotbi, who is obviously the watch expert at Phillips and the head of the department for European and Middle Eastern market. Alex is going to share a couple of insights, being the insider of the creation of probably one of the most sought after auction of the upcoming days, because we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the iconic Royal Oak from Audemars Piguet. So can you tell us, I guess the first question would be, what would be the biggest challenges in creating this auction?
Well, Eleanor, hi, first of all, great to be with you. The Royal Oak doesn't need a presentation. It is probably the hottest watch currently on the market. And so the idea was to create an auction which would highlight the incredible diversity of this model, which isn't just an extra flat 39mm watch. So we set out over a year ago to create a kind of a scholarly catalog, but we wanted to, let's say, concentrate only on 50 watches because, you guessed it, 50 years.
Anniversary.
But as we dug in, as we saw more watches, we're like, wow, there's so many stories to tell. So let's go up to 72 watches.
Why? Because it was created in 72.
Voila. But we couldn't. And we kept going and we kept going. At one point, we had to really control ourselves. If not, we would have a 200 lot sale of just Royal Oaks. So we decided to stop at 87. There's 88 lots in the watch because there's one unique book.
Because you started off with more than 800 watches from collectors or owners all over the world who had different stories and different pieces, which gives a whole realm where there's even crossovers between fashion and heavy watchmaking and number ones, and we're not going to see prototypes, just super rare pieces with extraordinary dials, and we're going to get into this in a couple of minutes. But can you tell us, obviously it's a hard question to ask, but so in your opinion, what is going to make this auction even more special, not only because it's Phillips and you guys have the Royal Oak roots, you're going to get all the eyes that are driven to you, but what do you think will make this auction so special?
Well, first of all, I don't think anywhere have so many rare, unique pieces that have never been seen or seldom seen, being found in the same place. Maybe the catalog or here at La Réserve in our Royal Oak exhibition area. So, for somebody who's a Royal Oak fan, this is the place to be, or this is the catalog to have. You won't have this, even, no disrespect, but even I don't think in the Audemars Piguet Museum you have these types of watches all in the same place.
You can't see them or get them in an AP store. You can barely get them, get all the way up to the museum. And here, you're basically sitting on a pile of gold where everybody will dream to have those landmark pieces, because as Aurel pointed out, the Royal Oak has become a landmark per se. What do you think is that? How come in 50 years a watch has become and has been compared to an Arc de Triomphe, for example?
I think the Royal Oak, the design, it hits all the right notes in terms of looks, in terms of size, in terms of name, in terms of importance, in terms of just, it's part of an era. It's like a Porsche 911. It's also 50 years old.
Well, Oryx compared it to an SUV. You compare it to a Porsche.
I'm more ecologically. Yeah, because the SUV, and I don't know who created the first SUV, but whoever created the first SUV created a genre, and the Royal Oak created a genre. The stainless steel sports casual watch made by a high-end brand. If there was no Royal Oak, you would probably not have a Nautilus. You would probably not have an Overseas. You may not have a 222.
We haven't named him, but it's also thanks to Gérald Jantin, a man which we again don't introduce or present anymore. But now, if we delve into some of the highlights, obviously there's 87 pieces in the book, and we're not going to present the 87 of those. But if you were, as Alex Ghotbi, you personally speaking, with the anecdotes that you know, with the pieces that you were able to handle, to try, to test, to look at, what would be the one you'd like to highlight or mention, or the one that you guys should bet on.
So, I don't know if these are the watches that you should bid on.
No, but it's true, because when you speak about a landmark and the most sought after watch, and I mean, of course, the Nautilus, not to name it, is one of the most important timepieces that everybody's looking for. But right now, pretty much anyone is willing or interested in buying any Royal Oak as long as it's stamped Royal Oak from AP.
And you know what's really interesting, and then I'll start talking about the watches, is actually the Royal Oak. We talk about the Royal Oak as, you know, as a model. There's 550 different Royal Oak references. I mean, that's huge. It's a whole different, you know, it's a whole design language.
It's a whole brand.
It's a brand, exactly. It's a brand on its own. So, I mean, there's 87 watches, and it's like choosing amongst your babies, because each of them is unique. Each of them has something special.
But you did the exercise.
Yeah, and it was a tough one. So I thought, well, we'll start with, let's say, the most historical, which is the 5402 A series, which is the very first Royal Oak model produced in '72, and this one is number 2.
Technically, it's the number 1, but number 2.
It is the second Royal Oak made. This is the watch, and this watch was actually in the Basel Fair in 1972 and presented to the public, to the press, when the Royal Oak was launched. Now, the watch is actually in new old stock condition, or untouched.
Well, how come? I do know the answer,
but I'll tell your, to your fans. The guy who is consigning it to us, the original owner, he received this watch for his wedding as a gift from his brother-in-law, who was an Audemars Piguet retailer. But he already had a Royal Oak, so he received it, put it aside in a safe. I don't know what he wanted to do with it. And then 50 years later, he wakes up and says, oh, wow, okay, I have this amazing watch. And he brought it to us, and it's incredible. It's a time capsule. It has every accessory that the watch was originally came with.
And you haven't touched it, you haven't set it up to the time, you haven't even opened it just because you want to keep it in like the perfect...
No, nobody has unscrewed this crown since it was made, basically. Imagine. The time, we haven't set it. Everything about this watch is that it is left Audemars Piguet workshops 50 years ago. I mean, historically, this is probably the most important watch we have in the sale.
That's why you keep it in the Montbard case so that nobody ever...
Oh, you know,
it.
Exactly, and it didn't even go on tour, so nobody would touch it. And if you want to look at it, well, I'm lucky to touch it.
I won't.
But let's say it's been touched by a few hands.
So that's part of the first lot. It's lot number...
That's lot number
8. Lucky number.
Lucky number 8. Then if we want to go in lot number, then we have lot number 10.
With the Tuscan Dial.
With the Tuscan Dial.
Please tell us what a Tuscan Dial is.
Okay, so a Tuscan Dial is a hand-hammered dial, which gives it this kind of special texture, which is actually reminiscent of the tapisserie dial of the Royal Oak, but this time it has more of a granular feel to it.
I'll actually dive into this, and for me, it's kind of a visionary version of the frosted gold that came in 2017. So much later, because this one was for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, this was made in 1992. So imagine.
Carolina Bucci was not inspired, because she probably doesn't know what a Tuscan Dial is, but it was very much in line with the DNA of AP, and eventually it didn't surprise anyone, and that's why the frosted gold became so popular.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. I mean, they took what was on the dial and put it on the rest of the watch. And this watch, I mean, you can feel it. It's heavy. It's hefty. It's platinum. I mean, it's sheer power, this watch.
Perfect with the jeans.
It's an incredible watch. And so Audemars made only 20 platinum Royal Oaks. So
for
imagine,
the anniversary.
For the anniversary. So they go from making a steel watch to an ultra luxurious platinum. And very few are known with the Tuscan Dial. Another anniversary piece is this one. It's the tourbillon with power reserve and date, and with a winding mechanism on the back to make it a bit silver.
First tourbillon put into steel case.
First tourbillon in a Royal Oak case.
No, Royal Oak case.
And this one is actually number 1. So this was made for the 25th anniversary of the Royal Oak. And what's really cool here is look at the opening of the tourbillon cage. It's in the shape of the bezel.
bezel.
Super cool watch. And this one is quite interesting. Is normally the blue dials were reserved for the platinum models,
Okay.
but the owner of this watch, who got number one, probably had a lot of clout with with Audemars, managed to get a blue dial too. Super great watch, very nice. Then what do we have? Lot 33.
33.
So here once again is to show you the incredible laboratory that the Royal Oak is. Because here you have a tantalum and platinum perpetual calendar with an open work dial. So that ticks a lot of boxes here.
And tantalum, not a lot, I mean, we talked about it. François Paul Jean has been using tantalum, but not a lot of other brands. Pretty much no one has used tantalum.
No, and this model is from the mid 1990s. So we're talking about 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. AP was the first to put a perpetual calendar in a sporty steel case of the Royal Oak. That was in the mid 80s, in '84. Then they opened the dial and to see all the cool mechanics underneath. And here you have it in tantalum and platinum, which has incredible contrast. It also
color of the links in the integrated bracelet.
Yeah, and it has heft. Feel it. I mean, it's definitely a potent
For me,
mix.
tantalum has not only like the particularity of being heavy and being the sports watch, but the color gives this sort of like natural patina of like the anthracite gray that makes today a very sought after color, because we're shifting a bit from the black, even though we're going to talk about black ceramic. But gray has become so chic and at the same time timeless and feminine. Worn by men and women.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is a watch you won't see on everybody's wrist from any brand.
You need to pull it off, and
you need to pull it off, but it's super cool.
Well, like the next one, you need to pull it off as well.
Hey, the next one is here. We were talking about steel sports, and this is.
So why would you pick that one?
Why?
Because you're the classic rakish. You're almost like a rake ambassador.
Oh, thank you very much. No, it's kind of like a secret dream of mine to be able to pull this off. But no, I mean, I just want to show the incredible variety of the Royal Oaks. What do we have here is pure watchmaking. I mean, it's a minute repeater, a perpetual calendar, and a split seconds. So this is technically the exact definition of a grande complication. It's a unique piece in white gold with mother of pearl subdials. It's automatic and fully gem set. So, I mean, it's so out there, and it represents everything that is cool about the Royal Oak. There's the size, there's the shape, there's the design, which is immediately recognizable.
It's daring.
It's watchmaking, and it's gem setting. It's an incredible watch. It truly is an incredible watch. I mean, just compare these side by side. You see the DNA. You see
Daddy and mommy.
Exactly. And there's the baby as well, because we have a small 33 millimeter perpetual calendar as well, which I didn't choose this time. And finally, to close the circle, we go for.
So there's a real bridge and crossover between fashion, an iconic, legendary landmark in the fashion industry, which was the late Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah, Karl Lagerfeld, who is a design genius.
And a watch collector as well.
A watch collector, but it's interesting that such a genius, what is the watch that he decides to have? The Royal Oak. And this is also an A series 5402 Royal Oak from 1974. We believe that this is Lagerfeld's watch for many reasons. One is thanks to the research we have done with Audemars Piguet and the consignor. We traced the watch back. The watch was delivered to Rome in 1974, where Lagerfeld was living at the time and working at Fendi. He was the head of design at Fendi. There are a lot of period photos of him wearing the watch on his cuff.
So how did you manage to fly it all the way back here to Geneva?
It went to a client who then sold it to somebody, and then who then brought it to us. And it has wear and tear. I mean, you can see that the watch has been, some of the PVD is wearing off. There's some scratches, but it's an incredible watch. And to know that Lagerfeld took the watch and made it truly his own by putting black PVD on it.
Yeah.
And there was only two people at the time who were having these black PVD Royal Oaks. One was Lagerfeld, and the other one was King Juan Carlos of Spain,
Okay.
who was often making them and giving them to his cousin Constantine of Greece as gifts. Because they went hunting together and he wanted a hunting watch which didn't reflect light. So that's why they had it blacked
That's why
out.
they had it blacked out.
Yeah. So this, I mean, this
And
is
yet
also.
it took AP a couple of years to come up with a fully black watch, which was later made in ceramic.
In ceramic, almost 40 years later.
Yeah.
But nobody was doing black PVD at the time either. Maybe
Because it was wearing off, and black was not like fully integrated. Plus, black PVD was not something that people were looking for.
no. This is a 2000s look. It's not a 1970s look.
Absolutely.
And that's how
Which
forward thinking.
is why he was very visionary. AP was very visionary, and the whole story is visionary.
Yeah, they came together, and it just makes so much sense that this is the watch that Lagerfeld chose to wear.
And it's the last lot of that auction.
Lucky number 88.
Absolutely. Alex, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights.
I know. Thank you so much.
And good luck for everything. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.